The year was 2475, and the survey vessel Aurora drifted through the cold expanse of space near the Talos galactic sector. Captain Silva stood on the bridge, her mixed Verac heritage evident in the subtle ridges along her temples and the golden flecks in her dark eyes. The bridge hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-maintained ship, its walls lined with displays showing star charts, sensor readings, and communication frequencies. "Captain, we're receiving an anomalous signal," announced Mira, the ship's young scientist, her fingers dancing across her console. Her short auburn hair caught the blue glow of the screens as she leaned forward, brow furrowed in concentration. "It's an old SOS transmission, very old. The frequency pattern suggests it's at least 3 centuries old." Silva moved to her side, studying the data cascading down the screen. "Can you isolate the source?" "Working on it now," Mira replied, her voice tight with focus. "The signal is coming from the Talos sector, specifically Talos 5. At the mention of Talos 5, Engineer Caro looked up from his station. His blue-scaled skin, characteristic of his species, shimmered slightly under the bridge lights. "Captain, Talos 5 is classified as a Grade 5 planet. Most of the galaxy actively avoids that region." Silva nodded grimly. Grade 5 planets were known as Deathworlds, hostile environments where only the most resilient life forms could survive. They were typically left alone by the Galactic Alliance, deemed too dangerous for regular exploration or colonization. "What's the status of our mission parameters?" Silva asked, weighing their options. "We're technically within our survey range," Mira replied. "The Galactic Alliance protocols state that any distress signal must be investigated regardless of age or location." Silva made her decision. "Set course for Talos 5, maximum sustainable speed." The Aurora changed course, its sleek hull cutting through space toward the distant planet. As they traveled, Mira continued analyzing the signal, her equipment working to decode its contents. The journey took 2 days, during which the crew prepared for whatever they might find. As they approached Talos 5, the planet loomed before them like a scarred wound in space. Its surface was mottled with angry reds, and brown storm systems swirling across its face like living things. Lightning flickered constantly in the thick atmosphere, and radiation readings spiked dangerously. "Beginning orbital approach," Caro announced from his station. "Sensors are detecting—" "Wait." His voice changed, becoming tense. "Captain, I'm reading multiple artificial signatures. This planet isn't uninhabited." Silva felt her stomach drop. "Define multiple signatures." "Massive metallic structures in orbit and on the surface. Captain, these readings, they look like military installations. And they're scanning us." Before Silva could respond, every alarm on the ship began blaring simultaneously. The bridge was bathed in red emergency lighting as proximity warnings flooded their screens. "Multiple vessels approaching," Caro shouted over the alarms. 5. No 7 ships heavy cruiser class. They're armed and they're moving fast." Silva gripped the armrest of her captain's chair. "Open a channel, all frequencies." "Channel open, Captain." Silva took a deep breath and activated the ship-wide communication system. "This is Captain Silva of the Galactic Alliance survey vessel Aurora. We received a distress signal from these coordinates and have come to offer assistance. Please respond." Static filled the channel for several long moments. Then, a harsh, gravelly voice broke through, speaking in heavily accented Galactic Standard. "Galactic Alliance vessel, you have entered restricted space. State your true purpose, or face immediate destruction." Silva felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. Around her, the bridge crew waited for her orders, their faces tense. "I repeat, we received an SOS signal from this location. We're here to help." "There is no distress on Talos 5, the voice replied, cold and final. "Only strength. You will leave immediately or be destroyed." Mira looked up from her console, her face pale. "Captain, I've been analyzing the SOS signal more thoroughly. There's something wrong with it." "What do you mean?" "It's not a distress call. It's a test transmission. The timestamp indicates it was broadcast 297 years ago as part of a communication system trial. It was never meant to be picked up as a genuine distress signal. The implication hit Silva like a physical blow. They had come all this way, violated the territory of clearly hostile aliens, all because of a misunderstanding. "Captain," Caro called out, his voice strained. "The alien vessels are taking attack positions. Weapons are powering up." Silva's mind raced. Her training emphasized diplomatic solutions, but she also had a responsibility to her crew. "Mira, how confident are you about the signal analysis?" 100%, Captain. This was never a real SOS. Silva made her decision. "Open a channel again." "Channel open." "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Silva. We've discovered that the signal we followed was not a genuine distress call, but an old test transmission. This is a misunderstanding. We mean no harm and are prepared to withdraw immediately." The alien voice responded with what sounded like harsh laughter. "Test transmission. You speak lies to buy time. Deathworlders do not fall for such deceptions." Caro's hands flew over his console. "Captain, recommend we go to full alert and prepare for combat. These Deathworlders don't seem interested in talking." Silva shook her head. "No, we need to find another way. Violence should be the last resort." Captain, Mira said urgently, "I might have an idea. If I can access their communication array while they're focused on us, I might be able to show them the actual signal data. Prove that it was a test transmission." "That would require hacking into their systems," Silva pointed out. "An act of war." "Better than shooting at them," Mira replied grimly. Before Silva could respond, the lead alien ship opened fire. Brilliant bolts of plasma energy streaked across space, striking Aurora's shields with tremendous force. The ship shuddered under the impact, and several bridge consoles sparked. "Shields holding at 70%, Caro reported. "But they won't last long under this kind of bombardment." Silva grabbed the communications console. "All alien vessels cease fire. This is a misunderstanding." The plasma bombardment continued, each hit weakening their shields further. "Captain, I need permission to attempt the hack," Mira said, her hands poised over her console. "I can try to temporarily disable their weapon systems and transmit the signal data directly to their ships." Silva weighed her options. They could try to run, but the alien ships were faster. They could fight, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Or they could trust Mira's plan. "Do it," Silva ordered. "Caro, reroute all available power to shields and give Mira whatever system access she needs." Mira's fingers flew across her keyboard, lines of code streaming across her screen. The plasma bombardment continued, each hit causing the ship to shake violently. "Shields down to 40%, Caro announced. "I'm in," Mira said suddenly. "Captain, I've accessed their tactical network, transmitting the signal data now and attempting to create a feedback loop in their weapon systems." On the main screen, they could see the alien ship's plasma cannon arrays, suddenly flickering and going dark. Silva immediately activated the communication system. "Attention Deathworlder vessels. This is Captain Silva. I've just transmitted the actual signal data to your ships. Please review it carefully. You'll see that what we followed was a 297-year-old test transmission, not a distress call." For a moment, space was eerily quiet. The plasma bombardment had stopped, and the alien ships hung motionless in space. Then the harsh voice returned, but this time it sounded different, uncertain rather than hostile. "We have reviewed your transmission, Captain Silva. Our analysts confirm that this signal predates any recorded distress calls from our world by several centuries." Silva felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Then you understand that this was a mistake. We had no intention of violating your space or threatening your world." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. "I am Admiral Thrax of the Talos Defense Fleet. For 3 centuries we have protected our world from invasion, believing the galaxy saw us as weak because of that ancient signal. We may have been in error." Silva leaned forward in her chair. "Admiral Thrax, I propose that we open formal diplomatic channels between your people and the Galactic Alliance. This misunderstanding could be the beginning of a new relationship between our civilizations. Your proposal has merit, Captain Silva. But first I must ask, why did your people come to help? Why respond to what you believed was a distress call from strangers? Silva smiled slightly. Because that's what civilized beings do, Admiral. We help each other. Several hours later, Silva stood in Aurora's conference room across from Admiral Thrax. The Deathworlder commander was tall and imposing with armor-like scales, covering his body and burning orange eyes. Despite his fearsome appearance, he had proven to be intelligent and surprisingly diplomatic once the misunderstanding was cleared up. Your world is remarkable, Mira was saying, studying the data the Deathworlders had shared. A Grade 5 planet should be uninhabitable, yet you've not only survived, but thrived. Talos 5 made us strong. Thrax replied, his voice no longer harsh, but filled with pride. Every day is a battle for survival, but it forged us into warriors. We learned early that we could depend only on ourselves. Which explains why you've remained isolated, Silva observed. You've been protecting yourselves from a galaxy that you thought saw you as weak. Thrax nodded slowly. The test signal your people detected was from our early attempts to contact other worlds. When no one came, we assumed it was because we were on a death world unworthy of attention. We turned inward, becoming self-sufficient, developing our own technology and culture. Caro leaned forward. Your technology is impressive. The way you disabled our communications initially, the speed of your response. You've clearly become quite advanced. Necessity drove innovation. Thrax agreed. But isolation also brought paranoia. When we detected your ship, our first assumption was that you had come to conquer or colonize our world. Silva nodded understandingly. And now? Thrax was quiet for a moment, staring out the viewport at the swirling storms of his homeworld below. Now, I see that the galaxy may not be as hostile as we believed. Your willingness to investigate what you thought was a distress call to risk your lives to help strangers. This speaks well of your alliance. The Galactic Alliance isn't perfect, Silva admitted. But we try to look out for each other. Your people could be a valuable part of that community. Thrax turned back to face them. I will need to consult with our ruling council, but I believe there is wisdom in your words. Perhaps it is time for the Deathworlders to rejoin the galactic community. As the meeting concluded, and Admiral Thrax prepared to return to his flagship, he paused at the airlock. Captain Silva, I owe you an apology. We nearly destroyed your ship based on centuries-old fears and misunderstandings. Silva extended her hand in the human gesture of goodwill. Admiral, the best apology would be to ensure this kind of misunderstanding doesn't happen again. Help us build a better relationship between our peoples. Thrax grasped her hand firmly. You have my word. 6 months later, Captain Silva stood on the observation deck of the newly established Talos Station, a joint Galactic Alliance Deathworlder facility orbiting Talos 5. The planet below was still as hostile as ever, its storms raging, and its radiation levels deadly to most species. But now, it was also home to a thriving partnership between two very different civilizations. Mira approached, carrying a datapad filled with reports. The cultural exchange program is exceeding all expectations. 300 Deathworlder cadets have enrolled in Alliance academies, and we've had twice as many Alliance researchers volunteer for the Talos adaptation program. Silva smiled, watching as an Alliance vessel and a Deathworlder cruiser flew in formation past the station. What about the historical research project? Fascinating findings, Mira replied enthusiastically. We've traced the original test signal through the Galactic Communication Network. It was actually received by 17 different Alliance worlds over the centuries, but each time it was dismissed as interference or filed away as interesting, but not urgent. 17 worlds, Silva mused. If even one had investigated. The Deathworlders might never have become so isolated, Mira finished. It's a sobering reminder of how easily misunderstandings can shape history. Caro joined them at the viewport, grinning broadly. You should see the technical innovations coming out of the joint engineering projects. The Deathworlders' environmental adaptation technology, combined with our jump drive systems, we might be able to open up dozens of previously uninhabitable worlds for exploration. Silva nodded, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. And it all started with a 300-year-old test signal. Captain, Mira said thoughtfully, do you think there are other civilizations out there like the Deathworlders isolated, thinking they're alone because of similar misunderstandings? Silva considered the question carefully. Probably. The galaxy is vast and communication isn't perfect. But now, we know to look for them to question our assumptions. Commander Loon's voice crackled over the station's communication system. Captain Silva to the command center, please. Priority message from Alliance Command. Silva made her way to the command center where Loon was waiting with a smile on her face. Captain, Alliance Command has just approved your proposal. The Talos protocols are now official policy. Any unexplained signals, no matter how old or seemingly insignificant, will be investigated within 6 months of detection. Silva felt a surge of pride and hope. And the xenoarchaeology program? Fully funded. We're establishing teams specifically to search for lost civilizations and investigate historical anomalies that might indicate isolated peoples. As Silva looked out at the bustling activity around Talos Station, Alliance and Deathworlder ships working together, scientists and engineers of different species, collaborating in the laboratories, cultural exchange, students learning from each other. She reflected on how dramatically things had changed. The SOS had indeed been a mistake, but it had led to something wonderful. Sometimes, she thought the best discoveries came from the most unexpected errors. Admiral Thrax's voice came over the communication system, interrupting her thoughts. Captain Silva, this is Admiral Thrax. We've detected another old signal, this time from the Andromeda spiral arm. The signature suggests it's even older than the Talos transmission. Silva smiled and activated her response. Understood, Admiral. Preparing joint investigation fleet. Shall we go see what other neighbors we might have? With pleasure, Captain. It would be our honor to help prevent another 3 centuries of isolation. As the Aurora and the Deathworlder flagship prepared for their next mission together, Silva felt optimistic about the future. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns, but it was also full of potential friends waiting to be discovered. The lesson was clear: in a universe where communication traveled at the speed of light, but civilizations could be separated by thousands of light years. Misunderstandings were inevitable. But with patience, open minds, and the willingness to reach out to strangers who might be sending their own confused signals into the dark, those misunderstandings could become the foundation for something greater. The Deathworlders had taught them that strength forged in isolation could be even more powerful when combined with the strength that came from unity. And the Galactic Alliance had learned that its greatest asset wasn't its technology or its military might, but its commitment to leaving no one behind, even if it took 3 centuries to answer their call. As the 2 fleets jumped to hyperspace together, heading toward another mystery in the vast cosmos, the story of the Talos misunderstanding became legend. It was told in Alliance academies as a reminder to question assumptions in Deathworlder schools, as proof that the galaxy could be trusted, and at diplomatic conferences as an example of how the greatest conflicts could become the strongest alliances. The SOS had been a mistake, but sometimes the best mistakes were the ones that brought you exactly where you needed to be. In this case, it had brought 2 civilizations together, created lasting peace where there could have been devastating war, and opened up new possibilities for exploration and cooperation that would benefit the entire galaxy for generations to come. Years later, when historians wrote about the Talos incident, they would note that it marked a turning point in galactic diplomacy. It established new protocols for investigating lost signals, created the framework for gentle first contact with isolated civilizations, and proved that even the most warlike peoples could become valuable allies when approached with understanding and respect. The story became a favorite among space travelers, who would often joke that getting lost or following the wrong signal might just lead to the adventure of a lifetime. And in the quiet corridors of the Galactic Alliance headquarters, There hung a small plaque with the image of Talos 5 and a simple inscription: "Sometimes the best way forward is to answer an old call for help." The Deathworlders, for their part, never forgot the lesson either. They became some of the Alliance's most dedicated members, and their warriors often served as peacekeepers in the galaxy's most dangerous regions. They had learned that true strength wasn't just about surviving alone. It was about building something better together. And Captain Silva, she continued commanding survey missions, always ready to investigate the next anomalous signal, the next cry for help, the next opportunity to bring isolated worlds into the galactic community. She carried with her the knowledge that in a universe full of wonders and dangers, the greatest discovery was often something as simple as learning you weren't alone after all.